Welcome back, Founding Champions, where together we are the 5th Grand Alliance, and like promised, I have the first deck that I believe is a good contender against Destruction. To dethrone Destruction, I have an Order Beatdown deck that has been posting some pretty good results. And I'm going to go ahead and start off right here with the champions. I have the Liberator Prime, one of him. 2 Protector Primes, and then 1 Vorrus Starstrike. So I'm going to show you every card in the deck first, and then I'm going to explain to you why we're playing these cards, and then how to play these cards. Again, this deck is a higher skill cap than Destruction. If you are an equally matched skilled player with a Destruction player, you're gonna be it's still an uphill battle. So you got to be very proficient with playing the game and using these cards. Otherwise, you might as well just sort of play Destruction Beatdown. But you will see some of the tricks in this deck that is going to hose Destruction players, and you're going to feel oh so good about that. You're going to have tons of fun. So I have it's an 80% win rate. It's fairly high. It's slightly inflated due to me playing against some Destruction players that made some questionable plays, in my opinion. I think if I was playing against all top-notch, in my opinion, Destruction, it'd probably be more like a 60% win percentage. So I will deflate that 80% number to about 60% win rate, and I'd say it's about 50-50 with other Order decks. It's an amazing win rate against Chaos. Chaos, I don't know. I've maybe lost one game against Chaos. I think of the over 10 I've played with this and this style deck, and against Death. Death is the slightly worse matchup. I would say it's about 40% against Death, the average Death player. If it's like the Death Burn deck or the Death Control player, it's about the same, that 40%. So, but the point of this is to beat Destruction. So I have a deck that beats Destruction. You can tweak it yourself, depending on what cards you like, but that will change the matchup percentages, of course. And if you start playtesting the deck right off the bat and you've changed any cards, well, that's also going to skew your results. So if you do take this deck home and play it and try it out, I do suggest playing it card for card at first and then making your changes. I know sometimes we don't have the cards necessary, but I would definitely recommend that, because playing against a deck that is so strong like Destruction, and is so fine-tuned and defeating and just running other people over, you have to play at maximum efficiency to try and consistently beat those decks. So with that caveat put in place, just try and play the list. If you can't, then obviously your results are going to differ. Results may vary, as they say. Now for the blessings, we have Abjuration. Making our, like I said, I was going to say it, okay. Card, then explanation. Stormforge, Divine Blast, and Blessed Weapons. Increased damage done from highlighted units by what's shown here. When it increases damage, rotate it 1 step forwards. So 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We can do about 10 damage with this Blessed Weapons. Alright, next up is the units. 3 Hurricane Raptors. Okay, let's put these to the side. 3 Disruptive Liberators. 3 Paladin Decimators. 3 Longstrike Raptors. 3 Skybolt Judicators. 2 Celestial Prosecutor. 2 Strike Force Liberator. 3 Triumphant Smash. 3 Piercing Shot. 3 Tactical Formations. And 2 Lord of the Host. Okay, so this is how we're going to want to try and set up the field. Vorrus Starstrike is going to be one of the first guys we throw down, and we're going to want him at one of the ends, but you can put in the middle to gain maximum effectiveness off of Lord of the Hosts, depending on if you're on the play or the draw. When I say by the draw, it means going second. We're going to want our Protector Prime against a lane where they're going to put a lot of units, a lot more units than normal. So the lane where they put Warboss Recruiter is a perfect lane for the Protector Prime. A lane where they're going to put their Loudmouth Megaboss is also another perfect spot for Protector Prime. Protector Prime obviously should not go against any wizards, but you will not face too many wizard versions of the Orc deck, though they do exist. So Protector Primes is best to counter what you see them play rather than just shooting in the dark. And against a lot of other matchups is the same way. Just reducing everything by one, I mean, everything in that lane that's a unit with their main damage coming from units is very good. A Liberator Prime, because just he fits the deck, just in terms of cost. And then Vorrus Starstrike. And he is in here because he gives us that 2 points of health. He's very easy to quest. You play your Stormcast Eternal, play your formation, Lord of the Host, removal, whatever, and then do it in reverse, and then you're going to get your blessing. The Heroic deck says restart highlighted Stormcast units. This Heroic deck can only be used once per game. So basically you will use your beatdown creatures like these here, followed by these creatures here, these units here, and then once they do damage, you restart them right before they all go away. You try and time the field so that you get maximum efficiency from this. And what that does, guys, is that your units will do damage continuously without ever having to spend actions to draw new cards and then play those new cards. So you just use one action, and all the cards you've drawn and played just continue to be used. And then all the other objectives, all they need is just, you have a couple damage, a few damage corners, and it's mostly Stormcast and ability. So this is the one non, which is easy. Everything in here is Stormcast anyways. But it's just all the ability corners, super easy. It's just literally play your cards, you'll use them. There's very little strategy when it comes to trying to get those quest objectives. And the strategy that does come into play is when to use tactical formation. So it really depends, what the board looks like to use tactical formation. But that tactical formation will set the board up, make it super easy, replace the card, and just continue getting all those objectives. Now, what makes this deck good against destruction? What makes it tick? We are using 2 full play sets of these disruptive cards. It is perfectly fine to use this on a lane where there's already a unit, because then it stops them from stacking. It's perfectly fine to use this in a lane that doesn't have a unit, because it stops them from playing a unit. It jams their field. It makes them slow down, and slowing their deck down is exactly what we want to do. I've had Hurricane Raptor stay on the field for 6 turns just by himself, and then playing another one, and that really slows them down. They can't use removal to get rid of it because he's sitting in that lane. They can't use, see, as it says, cannot play units, abilities, cannot deploy spells. So it's really going to stop a lot of what they're trying to do in that lane. Very good against the Recruiter. So they're using a Recruiter just to kind of draw a card. It's good against their little Boar Boss, because their Boar Boss is no longer going to push out Pouncing Wolf Riders and power those guys out and make them rotate forward. So this really gums them down. Yeah, I've noticed that in games where I don't draw any of these 6 cards is the games that I'm struggling the most. Next up are that I want to go over that makes them tick is just this consistent damage. It's just this right here, this lane right here. It's just all that ridiculous amount of damage. It's Skybolt Judicator, forcing them to play units in areas where they might not have wanted to play them yet. The good old combo of Longstrike Raptor and this card here, but this is a good combo against pretty much anybody. Now, Orcs doesn't have very much gain life and doesn't have very much damage reduction, because a lot of Orc players are moving away from Orc shield bashers, and because of that, well, they're susceptible for just getting beaten down themselves, because they're so busy trying to beat other players down that, you know, taking 4 damage followed by 4 damage, you know, and using a Triumphant Smash for 4 damage, they just can't take those kinds of hits. Next up, we're going to move into another part that makes the deck tick, is what I was trying to say earlier, Abjuration. Making their units dormant is extremely powerful. Very powerful effect, and they're taking damage while they're not being able to use their units. These are all just, you know, pretty powerful cards. You can substitute Divine Blast, but I feel like it's my favorite. If it was up to me, honestly, I'd have 3 Divine Blasts and 1 Abjuration, or 3 Abjurations and a Divine Blast, personally, because these 2 are my favorite to be played right now. This can be very potent in a slow control matchup. It is good if you flip this first. However, I sort of want to get them dead and play these. You can get the other one that does 5 damage and then followed by 4 damage if they're disengaged. However, you will almost never get that extra 4 damage when playing against a Destruction deck. That's why I use Stormforge. Not having to draw cards anymore against Destruction is very good, because they're cheating by using extra actions. This card here is underrated. Not too many people use it, but once you start buffing damage and then restarting everything, just continuously buffing everybody, this is when this card shines, and then nugging them for 4 at the very end. Now, I have these units here. Everyone is, except for, you know, the best disruptive card in the game, is either 3 or 4 corner card. So that maximizes my Vorrus Starstrike, and that maximizes my Lord of the Host. So I can do something like play this card, then play this card in the same turn, not that card, this card in the same turn, and then play this card, and then this card, and then lock down 2 lanes, and then they're taking damage in these other 2 lanes. And then once these guys get close to rotating out, just start them over again, you know, on turn 3, or play this on turn 3, then turn 4. Just being able to continuously push that damage, and that way I can draw the cards I need. And the cards I'm looking to draw are these ability cards, so that I can complete my quest objectives. Tactical Formation, that way I can get my Protector Prime. This is another card that makes Destruction tick. I can get this Protector Prime right where he needs to be to reduce the biggest amount of damage that's coming in. And then it replaces itself so that I can get another one and use a Piercing Shot, because I have 3 champions that require abilities back to back. So you see that's 2, 4, 6 abilities that need to be played. It's rarely a Stormcast Eternal unit that stops a quest objective. It's really just running out of abilities. So you have to use your abilities smartly. You don't want to be wasteful. You don't want to go, okay, Vorrus Starstrike, play a guy, use an ability. And then also I've played a guy here, then use an ability. And you're like, oh crap, I need 2 more ability cards. You know, suddenly, now, you know, it would have been better just to have gone Stormcast, ability. Once the Stormcast gets out of the game, play another Stormcast, boom, you got one. And, you know, so you're going to want to try and focus one champion at a time. I guarantee you guys, focusing one champion at a time is much better than spreading them out, because getting a very late blessing is not going to help you very much. This guy late is not as good as early. If you want to get it, you're going to want to get it soon. This guy late is also not that great. You want to get it as early as possible. This guy, you can get it pretty much whenever. That's why I like it. Early game, late game, it's all good, really. But and then this guy, he's also good in the early and late game. But honestly, because you have 50% of your blessings wanting to be played in the early game, you're going to want to focus down each blessing rather than try and flip all your blessings all at once. So trust me on that. and then the damage corners, and you're going to want to also try and have this Stormcast Eternal also complete this damage quest. So when you play Stormcast, you're going to want to complete these quick enough so that as it's rotating and doing damage, it can get caught on this one. You don't have to play a whole new Stormcast to activate that. So really, you just want to play 3 cards, and then he's good to go. And the same thing with, where is he? He just disappeared. You know, same thing with, you know, these types of guys here. You're going to want to, you know, maybe use your ability, which is perfectly fine, to use the damage ability to rotate them, and then play a guy, okay? That way you play an ability, and you have to do is play one more guy. Otherwise, you're going to have to play a guy, that guy's going to do damage. Then you have to wait, play a guy, you know, once he rotates, finally play the ability, and then finally play another guy. So, you know, you want to be strategic in how you activate your, you know, or complete your quest objectives. So this is deck number 1 on what I believe is a good contender against Destruction. Destruction is just a very powerful deck right now, and we're trying to formulate, you know, different decks to defeat them. And this is what I've come up with so far. I am still testing it, and right now in my next phase of testing with this deck, I'm feeling that I need more abilities, but it's hard to grasp, you know, what kind of abilities is best, because, you know, okay, I've got the, you know, staple ability. I got this ability where if I draw too many abilities, I get to still draw more cards, and then Piercing Shot. You wouldn't believe how bad this deck can get if you sort of draw all abilities. So, and perhaps maybe I just want to change out Lord of the Host, just that this ability makes my units better. So if I'm unit light and I don't draw too many units, it makes my one unit go a lot further because I've got Lord of the Host. And then you can use Lord of the Host if you think about it, you know, in terms of raw numbers. Say you use it with Hurricane Raptor. Hurricane Raptor comes in, does a damage, rotates, does 2 damage. You play Lord of the Host, gain 2 health. It goes back here, does a damage to them. So basically, Lord of the Host, what it did is it saved you from having to draw another unit and play another unit, and it did a 5-point swing. Gained you 2 health and did 3 damage, but also allowed you to continue using a good card in your deck. So I do like Lord of the Host for that reason, but I'm still trying to tweak some of the numbers to see what's good. Another change I would like to make in the future to see how it works is more Celestial Prosecutors. I had it at 1, I moved it to 2. It's just that when you get multiples of these, obviously they don't help each other. I do like that it's a 4-corner card though. It's just that, you know, unless you get it on a, you know, a corner where it's like you do 4 and it's still buffing by 1, then, you know, that's obviously good. But a lot of times you're not going to want multiples of these guys. They're just not doing enough damage on their own. It's just 3 turns with them doing no damage. So you need to pair this card up with something else. And I do have some room in the deck. It is in the Strike Force Liberator. Now this card is really good at getting him down to that 20 mark. It's just doing, what, 3, 4, it's doing 7 damage in 1 card, which is very good. I'd say an average card throughout all your cards, you're doing about 5 damage. So it's 3 damage with this, it's 3 and 3, but then you're doing 6 with this. You're doing 4 or 8 with this, you know, or somewhere in between. And this guy's buffing, so essentially doing damage on each one of these, potentially 2 damage on each one of these corners. If he is, that's 4, 6, 8 damage potentially, and that's very, very good. So, you know, we do average around 5 damage, 4 for this guy, or 7 depending. This guy's just, he's not particularly good against Destruction, but it does shore up your other matchups. And if they're using it, because remember, it does not control a unit, right? Does not control a unit. So if they have a spell, it still does 7. And guys, before this video gets up to 20 minutes, I just want to wrap it up there. Go ahead and give it a try. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. And let's work together on, you know, because we are the 5th Grand Alliance. So let's work together. Let's work together in making a good order deck. Obviously, if you're a Destruction player or a Death player, maybe you're not going to care too much about what we're doing here with order. but your turn is coming. Chaos and Destruction is next. Excuse me, Chaos and Death is next, and then if you're a Death player, Order player, we'll work together on making a deck that beats the public enemy number 1, the Nemesis, Destruction. So, guys, thanks for watching.